Welcome back to my renovation vlog. This is week 10 already. I can't believe it. March 18th in 2024, and I feel like the pace is really starting to pick up on this project. It is getting very, very real as I'm starting to come out of the planning phase and getting closer and closer to construction. I'm still planning to start construction around May 21st, sort of that third week in May, and so far we're looking good for that, but more on that in just a second. In case we haven't met yet, my name is Karen McMillan and I'm renovating my house. I'm doing the planning, I'm doing all the design, and for the first time, I'm actually managing the construction instead of hiring a general contractor, which is very exciting for me since I'm a project manager by trade. So I feel like I've got a lot of the skill set that I should be able to do this myself. And so that's what I'm doing, and I'm bringing you along for the journey. I'm sharing with you all of my wins, all of my learnings, and everything that is important for you to know, just from one very cost-conscious homeowner to another. So stick with me for updates every single Monday and enjoy watching me go at this. Now, before we go any further and dive into this week's updates, I just wanted to touch on what I was sort of mentioning earlier at the beginning about how we're planning to start construction around May 21st, but that's still kind of TBD. And this is something that comes up often in project management, right? And it's this idea that we have to make assumptions. So I built a timeline. So I started from working back on when my big door is getting delivered, which is the one thing with the biggest lead time. So I sort of worked back from there, from when I got the order into when I expect it, and said, okay, what do I have to have done in advance so that I can get that in the earliest it's possibly available? So I built my timeline back from there and figured out that basically May 21st is when I need to start. And this is a rough timeline still. It doesn't have all of the details fully fleshed out, but it's given me enough information so that I can see that is about the timeline for when I estimate I might get that window door installed. And so, yes, I've made some assumptions based on, everything that I know needs to be done beforehand. But, everything is subject to change. There's a lot of factors yet that I don't actually have confirmed in order to ensure that I can actually start on May 21st, including the structural stuff, the permit. I don't have any trades booked. I have I have nothing confirmed right now. The only order that I've actually put in was for the door. That's the only thing I've actually paid for. So it's very, everything is up in the air. And yet I'm working towards this date. And that is because we have to make assumptions. We have to just draw a line in the sand. We have to say, this is what we're planning towards. This is what we're working towards. And you just go from there. That's what's called a baseline. And we have to make baselines a lot in project management. And that doesn't mean that it's something that's set in stone. It just means this is our first version, and then we iterate from there. And so that's what I've done in this case. Because we never know everything before we start, right? Otherwise, we would plan and plan and plan forever, and we would never actually make any progress. So by making baselines, by making assumptions, writing those down, getting things down on paper, and having a draft, and that means we have something from which we can change and we can update and we can move forward as we learn more. So that's why everything is up in the air, and it doesn't bother me. I think a lot of people feel very stressed about this and how, how do you know everything's going to start? Should we book it for later just because we don't know? And I prefer to take this a day at a time. This is my project management brain, and this is how I have always operated. And as the plans evolve, the new date, if there is going to be a new date for starting, will become apparent very soon. So that is sort of a little background on that, about how I can sort of say we're potentially starting in 2 months without having a single thing booked. Also, a lot of stuff is hopefully going to unfold this week. So let me tell you more about that. Let's see. So I am expecting my architectural plans to come back hopefully by the end of this week. I asked my architect to put a bit of a rush on it. So just to be clear, when I'm talking about the architectural plans, I am talking about the actual permit drawings. So for instance, I've already received back just the general layout plans from them, because they're based on what I gave them. So let me explain. I'm going to flip over to my screen here. So this is what I gave the architect, right? So they already had the old layouts because they had already done those. And so that was based on my actual house measurements. And so then I gave them my new layouts. I gave them all my dimensions. So this is my new layout for the main floor, and this is the new layout for the upstairs floor. So I gave them these drawings with all of the dimensions and details so that they could mimic it on their side. And I did that because A, I knew what I wanted, and two, this is how you save the most money, is that you tell the architect what you want. You do the work on your own, and that way you tell them what you want and they just have to mimic it on their side. So for instance, look at this. This is their plans that they gave back to me. And you can see that they're virtually identical. So I gave them my plans, and this is them. So this particular architect uses CAD, and I am using SketchUp, which is also a CAD software. It's one of those things like Kleenex where CAD is a name, but it also stands for Computer Assisted Drawing. That's the acronym. So SketchUp is a CAD software. It's just not called CAD, but they use CAD. If that makes any sense. And so basically that's why they look so similar, and that's why, you can do your own drawings yourself in using something like SketchUp, which is what I teach homeowners, because it's so user-friendly. And I'm not an architect. I was never formally trained in SketchUp, and I've figured it out. And now I have the exact protocol for other homeowners to do the same types of drawings and the same types of things you need to do in order to get the same results. So that's what's really, really cool. So if you're interested in that, then I will put some links below the video. So I just wanted to sort of demonstrate the parity between the two drawings. And so this then is what the architect is going to base their permit drawings on. And that's what they're working on right now. So that's just the construction drawing. So that's going to have more information about the beam sizes and the fact that they're going to be recessed into the ceiling and what that means about, the footers and where they need to have posts and what the sizes are going to be and all of that kind of information. So they're doing the structural plans, the engineering piece of it, and that's what they're putting together right now. So I'm really excited for that, because that once I get those drawings back and we're all approved and ready to go, that means A, they can submit them for the permits. And that's going to be a really big milestone. And then the other side of that is that I can finally take those drawings in order to get some really detailed estimates and get some actual forward momentum with the construction side of things, because I cannot get quotes for the structural components without these drawings, because otherwise they don't know what they're quoting, right? I spoke to a person just last week. Well, it's one of my updates, is that I spoke to a really lovely guy who does structural work. And I said, can you even ballpark it? And he said no, which is totally fair, because they don't know how big the spans are. They don't know, what material it is, if it's steel versus LVLs, because those have different pricing allocated and they take longer or shorter to install. And they're, so there's so many components, and I hadn't specified all of the different framing things that I need. I've got skylights going in. He doesn't know any of that detail, right? Just even with my sketches, not quite enough there for him to do the quote. So he needs to wait for those architectural drawings, which I'm hopefully going to get this week. And then next week, hopefully I will be able to start talking to some more of these structural companies and figure out who I'm going to use to do the structural component of this renovation, which is very, very exciting, because that is the first component, right? That's the first thing in the schedule. Once we do the demolition phase and we take out there's no plumbing in the walls that I'm removing, but there is HVAC and there is electrical. So once I get those out, then the very first step we do is going to be the structural changes, because we need to get the beams in and make the big door openings and that type of stuff. So that's going to get done first. So I really need to get that piece locked in, because they usually work, at least this one company that I spoke to, they have about a 6 to 8 week lead time on when they're booking. So pretty much they're booking right now for the beginning of May, and I'm trying to get in sort of third week in May. So timing is really tight if I'm going to meet that deadline or not. And again, it's okay if it doesn't happen, but that's what I'm just working toward right now. So that's the update on there. That's the architectural plans. And I just wanted to highlight, while I have this on the screen, one really, really cool feature. So I talk a lot about doing my SHEP plans, right? And that's my own acronym for structure, HVAC, electrical, and plumbing, right? Those are the 4 big guns when we talk about having the trades and doing renovations, right? The rest is basically just finishing. But those are the really important 4 elements that you are not going to want to do yourself. You're going to want to hire professionals to do those because they require licensed people and you want those done right. They're all the things that hide behind the walls that you do not want to mess around with, right? So those are the things I never, ever, ever suggest that you DIY. Always hire professionals with licenses and insurance and all those things because that's so, so important. So, but you can still, and what I recommend and what I teach in Renovation Planning Academy is that you can still plan them yourself. You can do all the planning. You can think it through in your head because you should know your own home. So I teach you, first of all, how to audit your house and understand what's inside and actually do all of the pre-existing as-built drawings, including where your floor joists are running, where are your HVAC ducts right now, where's your electrical, all of that stuff. And that way you've got, again, a baseline to change and move forward and make the changes. So where I'm at with my SHEP component drawings and specifications is that they are in progress. I was hoping to have them done by this week, but of course, no dice. But they're definitely in progress. So just to show you though, a side by side, here's kind of how it works. So, of course, I've done all this in SketchUp, and so I'll just show you what I've done so far. So I can just turn on my tags. So first of all, here's my structure, these little pink elements. And actually, I moved this around, and this is supposed to be over here. Whatever, good enough. So that is the structure. And then if I just go back to the architectural drawings, you'll see here that these main core beams, this one going all the way, the full length of the house, and this one, I didn't draw it in here because it's already there, but it's hidden beneath the wall. But you can see that these, where I've estimated we need these new beams to go, is pretty much bang on from where they have put them in the architect's drawing. So the actual final placement will depend on once we open up the walls and the ceilings and we can see where exactly the joists are running and what other elements are there, then we'll be able to make a final determination. And it doesn't matter too much if, you know, we're within a few feet of one another. So, but I just wanted to highlight that this is what you can do yourself. You really do have the capabilities to make educated guesses and be pretty bang on for what it's going to be. So that I think is really cool and something that I always encourage homeowners to do. So that's the structural piece. And then I've also been working on some HVAC. So that turned on a little bit. I don't have a huge amount of HVAC in here. There's not a ton to be moved. There's a few cold air returns, which are sort of highlighted in here. There's a little bit in here. That's where the cold air return will be upstairs. I've got a new heat register here that needs to move. So the HVAC is actually very subtle in my particular house. It might be a bigger job in yours, but I don't have too many changes, which is great. And then I haven't done any plumbing yet, but that is one thing I need to do still. And then, of course, my electrical. You can see just the amount of stuff that comes on there, which is massive. So it's everything in electrical is, you know, we've got everything from ceiling fans to these particular ones are music speakers, got plugs. I haven't finished it, so I don't have all my switches in and connecting and showing what's going to be turned on by what switch and sort of the details around the electrical. But I've just started mapping it out, and so I've got to finish it and get back to it. But that is also on my plan for this week. So I've got to finish off the drawings for the SHEP components. And then the other piece that I also do is include a specifications document. And so this is one of the templates that I have inside Renovation Planning Academy, which makes it really, really easy to go through and add your room by room specifications. So you can do it room by room or you can break it out another way, but this is where you have a written description of all of the different things that you're drawing in. So for instance, you know, I've got in the kitchen, I've got framing, I've got blocking things, I've got HVAC. So I'm going to have everything listed out here. You can see obviously electrical. I haven't listed a single one of these items, and yet there is a lot of stuff to list. The exact locations, the measurements on the wall, how high up, how far in from the window, all of that stuff needs to get documented so that it's really, really clear. So that's what I'm going to be working on this week, is to get all of that finished, because once I have this documentation done, then it means that I can go out and get quotes from the other trades. So I can talk to HVAC engineers and I can talk to, or technicians, whatever. And I can talk to electrical contractors and I can talk to plumbers and get the quotes from them and start to schedule them in for approximately their right time based on if I can get the structural components all booked in as well. So I'm working on a lot of different things at once. I've got my hands in a lot of different pies all at the same time so that I can make progress on all these different fronts. So that is really exciting. One other thing I really wanted to show you is just some more components of what you can do in SketchUp. So one of the things that I did last week was we'll hide this guy. I planned out my island. So I think I've mentioned before that my island's going to be 17 and a half feet, which is just a monster of an island. And so what I did is I actually mapped out the exact drawers and pulls and stuff and what is going to be inside each one so that I have a map of where everything from my current kitchen is going to go, because you don't want to just randomly have, a bunch of drawers or a bunch of cabinets and then think, okay, well, this isn't exactly what I need, right? You got to plan the stuff out in advance. So I've gone ahead and done that here, which is really cool. And some other things I just wanted to show you is the rough mock-ups for the rest of the interior. So I do elevations like this, and this is another part of what I teach you inside Renovation Planning Academy. It's exactly how to do this, how to take the 2D drawings, basically, right? We had versions like this, and how to transform them so easily into elevations like this, which is really, really cool. So this is the whole left side of the house going from the kitchen into the living room. It's sort of really big, open concept, flowy, right into each other. And then on the other side of the wall, I've got what am I doing here? Kitchen right. So this side is more of a sort of bar area. I'm using some existing furniture in a creative way, which is kind of interesting, mixing with some new cabinets. I definitely need a wine fridge in there. I was originally planning to do something different, but we've had to try and save some costs. So I'm going to do just a basic fridge that gets plugged in and we're good to go. I'm thinking about some art up here. So this is still a bit of a work in progress. But it's really, really exciting. So, and then of course I had my original island, which was done in 3D. So I've got to update the actual drawers and everything based on the flat 2D version that I just showed you with the corrected door sizes and drawer sizes and stuff. But this was my original sort of 3D mock-up of just approximately where things would go. And it's staying very, very similar. There's just subtle changes. So I just have to get those updated. You can see here there was an earlier mock-up. Ooh, where did I go? Of my stairs. So that's kind of how those they're not going to look like this anymore. The overall layout is going to be similar, but the design has sort of changed a bit. And then I can also just show you my 3D. So once you have all these components, then you can just slot them into your 3D plan. And I teach you again how to do all of this. This is more accurate to what my current stairs are going to look like with just sort of metal slats. And so yeah, you just plug everything in and that's how you get, a really, really cool 3D model. So this is just a little sneak peek of what my house is going to look like. Something like this. Still lots of work to be done, lots of choosing finishes, which is another thing that I am heavily diving into this week. I have a fireplace guy coming on, I don't know, Wednesday or Thursday to come and look at the space. He's going to give me some recommendations in terms of the BTUs that I should expect. I'm looking at the one that I really, really like is the Valor LT1. So it's a linear fireplace because as you can see, I'm going for my official title is Scandustrial. So I'm kind of going for a blend of a Scandinavian style as well as industrial because I live in the city and I do have, it's a brick house and so it kind of feels fitting and I just love that style. So that's what I'm going for is Scandustrial. And so based on that, I've got a linear fireplace that I want, and it's this Valor one that I really love because it's actually taller. That's where the T comes in, an LT1. So it's a little bit taller than some of the other linear ones that are very short, so that it has a much bigger viewing window, if you will. And so I'm really excited about that, but I'm not sure, it might be too powerful for the size of my house. Because it's something like, I don't even know off the top of my head, 20 or 30,000 BTUs. And I'm afraid that I'm going to turn it on and my house is going to be like a sweat fest after 5 minutes. And I'm going to want to have it to turn it off all the time because it's going to be too hot for just the sheer amount of space. It's not a huge house that I'm working with. So So I have this fireplace guy coming this week to sort of analyze the space. He's going to look at where my gas lines are, and he's going to give me an assessment and just make sure that there's no red flags in the way of getting this fireplace installed. And then I can book that in. So again, it's all these little micro steps that are all, I'm working towards, all the different components and choosing finishes as I go. So I should be finished off with what I have module 4 inside Renovation Planning Academy, which is all the SHEP planning. And then sounds like I'm saying something worse, SHEP planning. And then I'm just going to go straight ahead on picking out a few more finishes. So I've already got a lot of ideas and I have a lot of samples. And so it's just a matter of finishing off that selection process. So that, I believe, is just about it. What else did I want to mention? Oh, just one more thing. I had a great conversation this morning with a skylight provider. Because skylights are something that are pretty straightforward. We don't have any in our house right now, and I've always wanted one. And so I'm going to hopefully get a couple of those installed up in my second floor hallway where it's very, very dark. But what I didn't know was the order of operations. Like, when do you get the skylight guy in? We're demolishing the ceilings and everything, so that would be the time, but is it before the structural? Is it after the framing? When do they come in? So I had this really great chat with them, and I just freely asked all the questions, all the really dumb questions that I had no idea about, and now I have a very clear picture in my head. So it's just another reminder that if you are taking on the task of being your own contractor, then there is no limit to the amount of questions that you can ask. And the moral of the story is to always ask questions until you fully understand exactly everything you need to know. And if you don't understand something, if something is still like, oh, this wasn't clear, you just keep asking questions. And that's what I did this morning. And so now I've got a really clear picture of what I need. I've got a verbal quote. So I'm going to get a written quote from him as well as others this week, and then I'll be able to book that in too. So again, lots of little pieces moving forward, but always forward progress, which is just so exciting. Okay, so this week I'm going to finish my SHEP plans. I think I've said that 3 times already, but I'm really going to work on it for this week, try and get those done because I have to start booking in some trades. I talked about the fireplace guy and starting to be able to hopefully call some trades next week once I get hopefully my architectural permit drawings back from the architect, hopefully by the end of the week, and then my own SHEP plans, and that will have a lot of that core planning really coming together so that I can start going out and getting actual quotes from people based on a defined scope that is documented. And this is why I am such an advocate for every homeowner. If you are renovating your house, please, please, please consider signing up for Renovation Planning Academy because it will change how you approach your renovation. And I can't wait for you to see the results of this and just see how much this system really, really works. So stay tuned for that and have a great week. And I will see you back here next Monday.